Welcome back once again. I'm your host, Ryan Vanveen. Welcome back to TSPN. I'm here with Toronto Marlies broadcaster John Bartlett. Now, this is the final round of my show, and I thank you so much for staying awake, mostly, Mom. And right now, John, we are going to open it up. We know that there's a lot of restrictions on commentary and a lot of, you got to keep it by the book, got to be professional. I'm giving you a treat just for coming down. We are going to open the floor. Anything just as far, just short of cursing goes. We're going to bring in, as I mentioned to you loyal listeners beforehand, I have to proudly state that John is a fellow Sacred Heart alumni, and I just happen to have with me my graduating yearbook for the year 2007, and don't know how quickly we could arrange for a cover shot, but in here is a photograph of me that was covering as a young broadcaster, I used to cover the Sacred Heart senior boys hockey team. And the guy who actually cornered me in the hallway, I will never forget it as long as I live. He was the one that really got me starting to follow teams to places. And any excuse to get out of class and go to a sports event, I would take it. I got to say thank you right now, Mr. Tony Bogdan. Thank you so much. And John, you have a connection with Mr. Bogdan as well, or should I say coach?
Yeah, well, he was back when I was in Sacred Heart and playing with the Crusaders in the high school hockey team there. He was a coach back then, so I never had him as a teacher, as a science teacher, but yeah, he was our coach for a couple seasons back when I was playing there, and then even when I was playing some junior hockey as well. So the eligibility, I couldn't play high school every year, but I remember he was coaching too. Even when I did some broadcasts of the Crusaders there, they were in the. What's the name of that? The Father Gates tournament here in Toronto. Yeah,
that banner, you go to Sacred Heart today in our gymnasium. That banner is still there.
Yeah, there you go. So I remember playing in that tournament too. That was a great one. But one year, the Crusaders were playing in it, and we brought out a camera. And then there was one game at Maple Leaf Gardens, and I was sitting up in the Reds or the Golds, I guess. And one guy had the camera, I had a stick mic on it, and that was it. I was calling the game at the Gardens with a list in front of me. It's so funny. Can't believe those days when you think back. They're funny because, how the heck did I fill that airtime with only names and numbers? But you found a way to do it. So,
what made it so fun for me was that quite often in the arenas we would go to, I would be in the in between the penalty box and the scorekeeper's booth. So we would have this was in I think about grade 10 or 11. So over the course of time, when the scorekeeper wouldn't show up, when the guy who did the board at the old Newmarket Community Center wouldn't show up, I had to do it all one night. Yeah. Like I was there, the ref would come over, he'd tell me the players, I'm like, and Michael Finlayson just scored, and he's number 17 for those of you keeping track, and we'll have the assists coming over here in just a second, and the ref would just come. And the funniest thing was, like, whoever was in the booth with me got the game for free, and I remember a lot of girls used to do all the work for the boys' team.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of fun times, and I remember all the guys on the hockey team, they'd skate by and go,
yeah, way to go. Thumbs up. Absolutely.
I had a lot of fun.
Well, we used to, I remember we used to get out, Sacred Heart hosted a girls' high school hockey tournament for a couple of years, and there were about 4 or 5 of us, between myself that did all the announcing and the music, and a couple of the guys were the refs and the scorekeepers and whatever. I think there was 5 or 6 of us. 2 or 3 years in a row, we missed the whole day of school just to go to the rink and do all the stuff at this girls' hockey tournament.
York Region Finals. I circled it every year on my calendar that I could look forward to going there. York Region Finals. Sure, I had to get to the ice gardens at York University at like some ungodly hour in the morning. But hey, that's what you got to do in our profession.
Absolutely.
You got to be there. You got to be one of the first ones there, because not only do you have to set up, you got to have your stories in place. You got to, first of all, know the players' names. That's the most important thing. Know who you're talking
and to
about.
this day, still, that's a stickler for me, is making sure you get guys' names pronounced right. And, even a great couple examples, like Juraj Mikuš, when he first came, was Mikas. And until I talked to him one day, and he's like, well, actually, it's Mikuš. I'm like, well, tell me that. And then we're on the bus sitting, well, Mikuš. Okay, you're Mikuš now. And then they fixed it. And then Jussi Runas was Rinus when he first came. And then we were talking to Jussi, and I said, well, how do you say your name? And I was like, well, it's Jussi Runas. I'm like, Runas. And we spent like 5 minutes out after a practice one day. Funniest thing if you ever saw, 2 guys standing there, Runas, like we're rolling the R's like it's roll up the rim to win time or something. So anyways, we got it, and that's how Jussi Runas is the proper way to say his name. So I said, hey, we'll get it right. So a lot of people go with Runas,
but as long as he keeps putting up the numbers,
just stop the puck. That's exactly it. Yeah,
that's why we bring you in. Once you start winning, people will remember your name, especially in this town.
Oh yeah.
So what else can you tell us about? You were the goalie for the Sacred Heart team for some time. So What was your best memory about being a part of that team?
Probably the big line brawl we had one game. No,
I'm kidding. I gotta
I'm
hear
kidding.
this.
No, there's not. Yeah, that was a buyout game, and a lot of the students made it down. I think they broke a few railings in the old community center that day. That was quite the scene. I don't even remember who we played, but our biggest competition I remember back then was Brother Andre and Markham. Trying to beat them was always a challenge. But that Father Gates tournament that we played in, there was a lot of fun that year. It was really good. Oh, you know what? I remember what happened in that tournament. We had, this was back when the Raptors were still playing at the Dome, and they had a prize for the least penalized team. You won you won Raptors season tickets for the whole team. So our goal after that first game, we came out, how many minutes? Only 4. Okay, and we started looking at this. We didn't care if we won the tournament. We wanted to win these Raptors, and we did. We were the least penalized team in the tournament, and so.
Well, you got to love those nosebleed section tickets.
They were in the front row of the 500s, way up at the Dome when they were there, and of course back then it was everyone wanted the Bulls game because Jordan was coming to play, and so it was kind of funny. But we won the season tickets and we made a schedule, and the whole team split up. I think everybody ended up with 2 or 3 games each. Kind of funny.
So you make the upgrade, as with most Canadian kids. You make the jump rather from high school hockey and league hockey to the A series, and you were a junior A goalie.
Yeah, I spent some time on junior C and in junior A as well. I actually hold a very weird distinction of being probably the only player in junior hockey that played for one team and announced or broadcast for another. And I did that in 2 different leagues. I did that in junior C. I was playing for one team in Schaumburg, and then ended up doing games on television for Bradford. And then up in Newmarket, being the announcer in Newmarket so long, I ended up playing for the Aurora Tigers, their arch rivals, in a playoff series nonetheless. And then we lost the playoff series in Newmarket. And so Newmarket goes on to round 2, game 1, round 2, home ice. I'm back in the booth announcing for the team that just knocked me out of the playoffs. So it was kind of weird that way, and it was funny for some people and really awkward for a lot of others, and I understood that, and it was sort of that line, and which side do you go? So I remember when I came to the end of that year, it was I had to make a decision. All right, which way am I going to go in my career here, to the booth or stay on the ice? And I was already in college at that time, and thought, all right, I'm going to go the broadcast route because this is going to get a little too tricky and balancing to try and continue this on. So, but it just goes to show you, it's a great example of why so many players and goaltenders end up in broadcasting. I just decided to do it really early.
You're lucky. Well, you had the daunting task of having to be the one sport athlete where you had to play with one team and then jump over to another team. I was fortunate where I'd broadcast in the winter and play baseball in the
that's not too
months,
bad.
so.
Yeah, that's not so bad. But yeah, it's really tough when you're, like I said, when you're playing one week and then the next week you're against that team or in the booth or whatever. So got a little weird, but what the heck, it all worked out. It was funny. It's fun to talk about it now.
Oh, hey, anytime you want to come back and just got another story for us, let me know. All right, we got about 2 minutes left. Now,
all right.
I had to get this out of the way. The big story recently, the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund, their 66% stake in Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment is now officially on the market. And so, as you can see from this headline in the sports section, and so now what is your take? Because you've got so many companies. The big one was Rogers a couple weeks ago with the $1.3 billion offer, I should say. You've got all these phone companies. Shaw's a big contender. Jim Balsilli's name has even been mentioned. The ironic thing is he wanted to get a team to Toronto, and now he could own the team. So we've got about roughly, I know it's a tough talk about in a minute, but like...
Well, yeah, and there's really, there's not much more really you can say about it than what's out there and known right now anyways when it comes to it, because that's the whole business side of things, and who knows what'll happen with it. To round out the whole circle is where we started this conversation. The one interesting part, and this goes even beyond MLSE, but when you get into talking about telecommunication giants and everything getting in, it's all about content across all their platforms. So, with Rogers owning the Blue Jays and stuff, you already see how that works a little, and it's just interesting, that whole mix, how that can transpire, so whether they get involved or not. But hey, that's the battle for the boardrooms, and we'll let them work it out, and whoever ends up within the end is going to end up with a pretty good product in their pocket.
Well, one thing's for sure, and I can say this emphatically, because with all the talks of Gary Bettman trying to get another NHL franchise for Quebec and Winnipeg, the one good thing we could say is, with 1 minute to go, the Leafs are not going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
They're going to live and die with this city.
I will tell you this, though, Winnipeg will have a team back. They will have a team back. There's stuff going on in Winnipeg now that's not really in the media and everything, and when you're out there, you can see it. And they'll have a team back, if not next year, maybe 2 years or something. And Quebec City, by putting that money together and wanting to build a building, that's a ticket in, because they can play in the Coliseum until the building's ready.
Fantastic. Thank you once again so much for being a part of this show, and we'd love to have you back. If not within the next couple of weeks, then certainly next season.
Sure, absolutely, anytime.
Well, this has been Ryan Vanveen for TSPN, and I will be spending the remaining seconds of this broadcast trying to negotiate with John in order for him to autograph my my yearbook. I've got one space left because I was such a popular guy. So I'd like to do something rare and thank my broadcast booth team of Bilal, Vakani, and Jose Solorzano. How you guys doing in there? Fantastic. So until next time, I'm Ryan Vanveen, and hopefully you caught the whole broadcast. I know we had some technical difficulties with our audio-video at the start, so hopefully I'll be back on broadcasting, and Bilal Vakani will be back next week. So until then, see you next time.